Hello there everyone, and welcome to the first of the Vaporum Lockdown lore videos. There will be no Vaporum Lockdown gameplay in this video or any of the videos in this series. We are only going to be spending time reading the various Arxpedia entries that we have unlocked so far. To that end, let's head over there, we'll talk about it a little bit more, and then we'll begin reading about the creatures we've discovered. Alright everyone, before we begin reading these entries, a few things you guys should know. First off, there's obviously going to be spoilers here, so if you don't want to know about the types of creatures that you can encounter during the game Vaporum Lockdown, you should probably avoid this or any other videos in this series. Next, I've lowered the volume significantly for all the sound effects in-game, because you generally you're not going to care about the sound effects of the creatures when they make an attack, and also we have to deal with the sound of the Telsa coils going off in the background. I instead have replaced it with a soundtrack from the game Anachronox, which I think is decent. Something in the background that doesn't try to fight my voice for priority. And lastly, listed by each creature are their durability and damage ratings. I'm not going to bother reading those. I don't think you guys probably care very much about them. Yeah, we'll skip them, and we'll skip the animations for all these creatures as well. I fully expect most of you, the vast majority of you, to just be listening to this as opposed to watching this series. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and get started with the lowly Welder Drone. The Welder Drone attacks with its welding arm, dealing minor physical damage. Although weak and quite frail, drones can fly over pits and have great maneuverability, which can give them an advantage. These small floating multi-purpose machines are a creation of the technical faculty of the Supreme Borough University, based on a delicate clockwork mechanism, steam power, and a strong propeller. The propeller allows the drone to take off the ground to get to otherwise inaccessible places. Mostly used in industry production and construction work at first, this type also found its use in the military for territorial reconnaissance. The Welder Drone, or SBMP M2 Welder Drone MK3, belongs to the third generation from the family of drone machines. This third generation still has its roots in the original patent from the technical faculty, although the drone's weight and size are considerably smaller thanks to the Fumium technology. Fumium batteries, developed in the labs of the Arx Vaporum, give the drone a lot of flexibility and increased performance. A rotary dynamo placed in the central part is driven by a motor powered by a Fumium battery. The arm is tailored for welding, using an electrode wrapped on its end. The Shock Drone. The Shock Drone has a very similar attack to the Welder Drones, but it's faster, packs more punch, and has a chance to apply a shock effect. As shock heavily reduces all your damage output, it's best to wait until the effect wears off before using any strong attacks. Model SBMP M9 Shock Drone MK3 is also equipped with an electrode arm. Unlike the Welder Drone's appliance, this electrode is capable of producing an electrical shock which can paralyze the nervous system of a living organism, as well as short-circuit the clockwork of most robotic machines. It can also pierce through a 10-centimeter thick layer of clothing. Using a Fumium battery, the core can produce a voltage of up to 50,000. An older model of the Shock Drone was first deployed in masse by the riot units of the Supreme Borough to suppress the Great Strike 15 years ago. These drones proved to be very useful, helping the Borough to quickly stamp out any signs of disorder. We are certain that these new models would do an even better job today. The Canon Drone. The Canon Drone uses its powerful cannon to shoot over a distance for medium physical damage. Nothing fancy, just solid firepower. When you find yourself against one in a narrow hallway, be sure to lure it into a larger space when you can maneuver to avoid the fire. The Canon Drone, or SBMP-MX Canon Drone MK3, is based on the second military prototype, where the army realized that the recon drones needed a way to defend themselves, otherwise they were going to be an easy target for enemy riflemen. The MK1 model had a photographic appliance and a small caliber suspension gun. The MK2 replaced the whole system with a new firing mechanism, also removing all the advanced recon functions. Thanks to Fumium, the MK3 model was upgraded with a firmer construction and propulsion system, with much greater performance. This also allowed the mounting of a powerful cannon onto the base and SBMP skeleton. The Army plans to field this latest model to escort and protect military airships. Record: AV A032MR. Dear Chief Officer Reich, your objection to frequent use of the automatic drones to the military personnel concerning the safety of the Arx Vaporum project has been duly noted. Although the apprehension of the unknown is understandable, progress cannot be halted. Your objection will be discussed according to Regulation SB A1234 at the Scientific Project Board meeting 2 weeks from now. It would be advisable to remember that the Bureau cannot provide reliable security personnel at this time. The approval process therefore takes a larger amount of time than usual. Based on the latest reports from the Arx Vaporum project, it seems the automatic machines promise to bring about a bright future. As Chief Officer of one of the greatest projects of the Supreme Bureau, it would be advisable to appreciate these facts. Best regards, Rulin Stock, Chief Officer of Regulatory Office. The Ray Drone. The Ray Drone projects a ray in front of it, in whatever direction it faces, dealing heavy continuous physical damage. Never go toe-to-toe with the Ray Drone, not even with the heavy rig on, as the ray does not trigger the rig's passive. Try to outmaneuver and destroy it before it can deal any significant damage. The Arx Vaporum laboratories developed a new method of drilling into solid material. The type label is SBMP-AV1, Ray Drone MK2, although most workers who come into contact with the drone simply call it the Ray Drone, thanks to the ray's striking red color. A Fumium-powered ray projector can cut through the densest of materials. At the maximum power setting, the ray can even drill into the Fumium core and help process and mine the substance. This system was later upgraded and mounted on third generation of drones. A Fumium-enhanced skeleton and battery give this mobile machine significantly increased performance that can be used for far more than just mining and construction work. Record: AV A047. Matter: warning to all maintenance workers. Based on the reports of Alfred Meinham, it is strongly advisable to use appropriate safety measures and precautions when working with ray drones. There have been several incidents when a worker has been hit by a ray due to simple human error. Use heavy shields developed for your protection by Chief Engineer Runcraft. The Cutter Drone. The Cutter Drone is an offshoot in the Ray Drone, with a similarly devastating ray attack, but the ray activates only periodically, firing in 4 different directions at once. Avoid getting trapped in a corner, and stay aside from the drone's line of fire. The ECD-01F model is an updated version of the older prototype. The ECD-01A was a prototype created by the technical faculty of the Supreme Bureau University, lying untouched in an archive of patents for several years. It lacked a reliable and strong propellant for it to be usable. The steam and the first diesel prototypes at that time could not produce enough energy to keep the drone in the air and at the same time to power its cutting lasers. Thanks to Miragas's Fumium Dynamo, the ECD-01F, or the cutting drone, as miners call it, has enough energy to keep it in the air while also powering and cutting the laser system. The ability to hover without using any mechanical parts allows the drone to reach inaccessible places, rugged tunnels, and places with dangerous surfaces. Thanks to their compact size, the Supreme Bureau uses these machines mostly in excavating jobs, building tunnels, and probing. It is frequently used as an alternative to machinery used for cutting large steel plates directly in the field. I find it interesting, everyone, reading these. The lore makes it sound like these things are being fielded by the Supreme Bureau in a larger capacity than just within the Arx Vaporum tower itself. This would mean that Fumium-created constructs have been shipped to Capital Island, probably at the very least. So those are all the drones. Let's read about the rats and spiders next. The rat. The rat is flexible, relentless, and quick to bite anything it sees as prey, dealing minor physical damage. A single individual may not pose any serious threat, but they tend to hang out in larger packs. Area damage is usually the best weapon against this pest. Resistant to acid. Lore. Record. The Supreme Bureau, Department of Biological Sciences Archives. Subject. Study on Fumium interaction with biological organism. Report sent by Arx Vaporum Substance Field Assistant Jane Shane. A fully developed individual of the last control group is 255 centimeters long, including the tail. Its tail is notably shorter, but much thicker compared to the unmodified kind. Its sharp and massive fangs can bite through thicker planks or electric wiring, which can be fatal to a human without a protective exoskeleton. Research excerpts. Day 25. Significant changes in the appearance of the very first generation of RG-01X. This offspring of the original test pair has not developed fur, and their eyes have an anomalous red glow to them. Day 68. Although we could have anticipated a rapid growth in size, considering all the previous experiments on roaches, it still surprised us in the rats this early on. Day 420. The RG-15Z control group is significantly more aggressive than its predecessors. Many individuals have blue outgrowths on the surface of the body, which we identify as crystallized fumium. Autopsies indicate that the subject's tissue has absorbed the substance. We assume that its transmission may be hereditary. We need further research to confirm this hypothesis. We plan to exclude fumium-enhanced food for the next several generations. Personal log. We were lucky. Although the research on the effects of fumium on roaches brought many surprising results at first, we hit a dead end in the last few months. But then, out of the blue, Laura Reich gifted us a pair of rats, apparently pets of some archivist from the library who smuggled them in. Due to the strict ban on any animals on the premises of Arx Vaporum, they would have to be disposed of anyway. Therefore, continuing the research using these rats seemed like the best and most natural idea. Jane Shane. The feral rat. The feral rat is as nimble as its smaller counterpart, the rat, but packs a lot more punch, and its powerful bite can cause heavy bleeding and poisoning at the same time. Avoid getting surrounded and getting bitten by the powerful attack. Although the feral rat is much stronger, area damage is still the most effective weapon against it. Resistant to acid. Lore. Record. The Supreme Bureau, Department of Biological Sciences Archives. Subject. Study on fumium interaction with biological organism. Report sent by Arx Vaporum Substance Field Assistant Jane Shane. The size of this variant does not differ from the previous control sample. When we stopped feeding the RG-16A control group fumium-enhanced food, the next generation developed significantly different characteristic features and appearance. The skin is much lighter, and the previously bluish crystalline fumium structures are now red. Phosphorescent coloration of their eyes has changed from red to green. We can observe significant changes in the behavior of the RG-16A's offspring. They are much more aggressive, brutal, and dangerous in every way. Interdental microglands developed in the oral cavity of this so-called feral rat that can release a strong dose of highly acidic substance into its victim. Its composition resembles the saliva of the acid roach. Observation 180/A12. The autopsies of the second and third generation of the control group showed that the organism contained trace elements of fumium, despite being separated from any contamination. They were fed standard food without fruit mixtures enhanced by fumium. Is it possible that fumium contamination is hereditary? Again, we need more data to verify this hypothesis. Next, the Spiderling. The Spiderling is a nimble machine, rapidly attacking with its front leg, dealing minor physical damage. Although one on its own can barely scratch you, they usually show up in large numbers, and can easily overwhelm you, attacking from all sides at the same time. Look for narrow passages and nooks where you can diminish their numerical advantage. Lore. The arachnid RX-1 model, better known simply as the Spiderling, is based on older mining technology. Often used in the mining industry to clean shafts, the first models were developed by Sir Balthazar Thomas Hell for the Brenner Mining Corporation. This type of arachnid, also known as Arx 3, was larger, relatively slow, equipped with a coal-burning module with a steam boiler and a simple piston. Later experimental models used the first prototypes of diesel propulsion, however they failed to enter mass production. The RX-1 model is attributed to Chief Engineer Henry Runcroft of the Arx Vaporum project. It is much smaller and faster than its predecessors, equipped with state-of-the-art Fumium batteries, built on a brand new chassis. Thanks to the Fumium technology, the RX-1 is small enough to easily get into various ducts and larger industrial shafts. Record AVA023. Report of Victor Baskerville, Maintenance Unit of Arx Vaporum. Yesterday, deep into the night at 2 a.m., we enabled 5 Spiderlings to carry out service duties in the waterworks. One of them struck May Kerrick's leg, by mistake, I hope. Kerrick instinctively retaliated and smashed the robot to pieces. What followed still makes me shiver, even now, many hours after the incident. The rest of the spiders took a defensive stance, as if to protect the remains of the smashed one. They formed an arc, beating and clapping their legs on the ground in a threatening fashion. When we tried to get close, they lashed out at us. We had to pacify them using the PCU, Pest Control Unit, a shock spider. The behavior of the PCU was unexpected. We thought we would order the shock spider to simply destroy the creepy little things. However, before we could even decide on the matter, the spider took charge. I'd never seen anything like it around these machines. The moment the big spider showed up, the Spiderlings snapped out of it and just followed the big one like goslings follow a goose. No idea what to think of it. And who to report it to? Runcroft? The shock spider. Apart from the front leg attack that deals medium physical damage, the shock spider can also produce an electrical discharge around itself that deals heavy shock damage and administers a shock effect. Stick close to the spider and use your superior speed to outsmart it. The moment it starts charging up, run away to avoid the devastating shock. Never let the spider corner you with no space to run into. Lore. Arx 5 PCU 746, Z46, with the codename of Shock Spider, is an advanced model based on the Spider quadruple Arx 3 that was equipped with a coal-burning module with a steam boiler and a simple piston. The PCU, Pest Control Unit series, in the PCU series, the whole system was replaced with an expansion chamber for the battery and more robust pistons. It is powered by stronger energy cells and equipped with powerful dischargers. With the new sensory appliance and improved control algorithms, the electrical discharge can stun or outright kill any kind of pest, be it roach, rat, or other Arx-specific life form, in barely accessible places. The Acid Spider. The Acid Spider is very similar to the Shock Spider, but instead of shock, it unleashes a pool of acid around itself, dealing acid damage and administering an acid effect whenever you touch the pool. This can be even more devastating than a shock if you cannot move off the acid quickly. The acid effect heavily reduces your repairing capabilities, so delay using repair kits until the effect wears off if possible. Again, keeping significant space around you to maneuver is the key. Lore. The Arx 5 ECU T54, commonly known as the Acid Spider among the maintenance unit workers of the Arx Vaporum, is a new model based on the older quadruple Arx 3. Arx 5 is a lot more advanced and stable. The new prototypes should amend all known issues with the 4th generation, also known as the Catcanut prototypes of this technology. The batteries of this series are based on the Guilherme's grid, made of fumium-enhanced steel, keeping the fumium grain intact. This should make the whole construction a lot more solid and stable. In the case of ECU, Environmental Cleaning Unit, the central construction was replaced by a tank filled with a special solution for the cleaning and maintenance of fumium piping and mining equipment. The tank is made up of a single piece, making it 100% waterproof. The reactive solution consists of a mix of strong acidic compounds and liquid fumium concentrate. This solution is very toxic and dangerous, especially to various biological life forms. However, it is a very effective tool for the maintenance of fumium devices. Alright everyone, we'll skip the Guardians at the moment because I think there's another we have yet to unlock. Let's go to the Criers next. The Crier uses its claws for a very fast double attack, with the second attack being a lot stronger, dealing high physical damage with the probability of administering a bleeding effect. While bleeding only deals minor damage while stationary, it can hurt you really badly if you start moving. It's best to wait on the spot until it wears off, if possible. Given the speed and agility of a Crier, this is seldom easy to do. Stuns, knockbacks, or range attacks are usually the safest bet against Criers. Lore: the AV Fumium interaction with human biology study. Author: Laura Reich, substance field researcher. Notes: apart from experimenting on live subjects, there was also an opportunity to observe the substance's interaction with dead tissue. Dead bodies stored in tanks with fumium solution were particularly interesting. The substance reactivated some of the biological functions in these subjects, getting into the wounds and scars, filling it with fumium lesions. What's most important to note here is that fumium is apparently able to create life forms without any external stimulus, by, well, transforming dead matter into live matter. The original subjects lost all hair, and their skin went through a transformation we don't properly understand yet. Keratin plates on the tips of the fingers significantly calcified, making them razor sharp. With the increase in physical strength, these claws present a dangerous natural weapon. Many of the subjects show signs of increased aggression and strong aversion to any form of control. Berserker? The Berserker is almost identical to the ordinary Crier, but when it becomes heavily wounded, it will activate a Berserk mode, restoring all lost health and becoming an embodiment of fury, gaining in both movement and attacking speeds. Whenever you see the Crier going into a trance-like state, try to finish him off quickly before he can heal up and wreak havoc. Lore: record: AV Fumium interaction with human biology study. Author: Laura Reich, substance field researcher. Some of the subjects of this newly created population show extreme levels of aggression and violence. We now know that if such a subject is attacked and wounded, the production of adrenaline and the vibration around the fumium veins significantly increases. This makes them much faster and much more dangerous. The skeleton and muscle mass also seem to be slightly denser. The movement and attacks are therefore not only faster, but also pack a bigger punch, in layman terms. The Stealth Crier. Another variant of the ordinary Crier with the same attack patterns but much more deadly, as it can easily trick your eyes. When it goes to double attack, it becomes visible for a fraction, but that's usually too late to react. Keep an eye on the faint trail of mangled air to see where the next attack may come from. Lore: record: AV Fumium interaction with human biology study. Author: Laura Reich, substance field researcher. It seems that the fumium-induced changes in the tissue of the dead bodies is not final. The organism continues to develop and grow. It constantly adapts to survive in the conditions of any given environment, reacting to any small changes within it. A few of the subjects have developed some kind of camouflage, making them nearly invisible to the naked eye. Although we aren't sure about this new development might have something to do with the teleportation technology, perhaps changing the body structure on the cellular level. What leads me to believe this: is that we only noticed these camouflaged criers after we tested them in the teleportation chambers. Or maybe Fumium has a way of tweaking the very rules of physics as we know it, at least in its immediate vicinity, causing the subject to phase shift in and out of our reality. Getting the answers to these pressing questions will still require further extensive research. These invisible creatures show the same levels of aggression and uncontrollable fury as the base subjects. Their ability to move around unnoticed may prove to be extremely dangerous. Alright, let's read about the Spitter as well. The Spitter is slow and clumsy, but his innards continuously leak out rancid fluids, leaving a trail of lethal acid in his wake. When threatened, he spews out a large pool of acid in front of him. Both these acidic effects deal elemental damage and heavily reduce your ability to regain integrity. Kill him quickly, before he can contaminate too much space around you, hindering your options of escape. Lore: AV study on Fumium interaction with human biology. Author: Lower Reich, Substance Field Research. Notes: during our research, we had an unexpected opportunity. Air conditioning units and part of the hydroponics in one of the tower wings got contaminated by Fumium gas. It is a highly toxic substance with adverse effects on most of the living matter on our planet. Acid roaches bred in our labs are the only known exception. It was fascinating to observe how this substance influenced human physiology. At first, it seemed that the body would behave similarly to corpses brined in Fumium solution. However, reactive elements in the gas gradually settled on the body's surface. They got into the internal organs through the lungs and wrapped the whole body in some kind of biological film. The analysis is still in progress at the time of the writing of this report. The substance literally burned through all the internal organs and notably regenerated muscle tissue. According to the position of the arms, incorporated in the body's mass, it seems the subject must have died in a great deal of pain. Most of the internal organs are no longer there. The lungs have been preserved, but their mutation has notably changed their function. The subject's lung lobes have changed into sacs that constantly produce a great amount of a highly toxic substance. It is interesting that this substance shared a lot of characteristic features with the acid excreted by acid roaches. Their acidity and influence on the healthy individual are the same, although a microscopic analysis reveals trace elements of Fumium in this substance. Why is it happening? We are currently considering two hypotheses. Fumium is a residue of gas poisoning, and the subject's body slowly secretes it. Or B, Fumium is replicated in the lung lobes and gets into the environment through excretion. The body's surface is overgrown with thick Fumium crystals in several places. However, they do not have the typical bluish color as observed with other Fumium-enhanced organisms. In the subject, crystals have a different size and the same color as the substance excreted. A preliminary autopsy shows that the larynx and trachea have mutated into an organ that can squirt a large amount of acidic substance over a short distance. Alright, everyone, I think we'll read about the roaches next, and then that will do it for this video. We'll read about the golems, the mages, the turrets, and the last guardian, I suspect, when we get them unlocked. The Roachling. The Roachling is an agile creature, using its mandibles to attack at melee range for medium physical damage. If you try to keep your distance, it will jump to close the gap and slice your skin, dealing solid physical damage. Both these attacks have a chance to administer a bleeding effect. Watch out for the jump attack and the strafe jumps to the sides. When bleeding, try to move if possible. Lore. Roaches live a basic existence in every part of the world, able to thrive in the most diverse of environments, though mostly in tropical and subtropical climates. They can also withstand extremely low temperatures, which allow them to live in the coldest corners of the world. We surmise that the species present in the Arx Vaporum, which we are experimenting upon, came here with the supplies from the port of Burrow, most likely in the fruit and vegetables. They made ideal test subjects. To use them for the behavioral effect of Fumium-enhanced food on lesser species experiment was Laura Reich's idea.
We fed the little things fumium-enhanced fruit hash. At first, there were no visible changes in their behavior or biological structure, but after 2 weeks, we saw a measurable increase in their size. They started to grow rather rapidly afterwards. The result of this experiment is a species of roach that is both large and agile, and is difficult to control. These creatures are very fast, and can jump over great distances. Acid Roach. The acid roach spits balls of acid that explode on impact, dealing medium physical damage and creating a pool of acid. The pool deals continuous acid damage and administers an acid effect. While the direct hit from the projectile is not threatening in itself, in cadence with which the acid roach spits them and the continuous damage of the pools can be devastating. Avoid the projectiles in the pool at all costs and try to kill the creature as fast as possible before it can contaminate too much of the space around you. Lore. At first we fed the whole populace of roaches the same food, but then, as they started to grow, we made a few changes in the diet. We divided them into several groups and gave each a different variant of fumium-enhanced food. The effect this had on the control group B13 was rather surprising. We first saw changes in the test subject James. After shedding the outer shell, the body had a yellow-green coloration. After a new layer of armor calcified, we saw the color shift a little. This was quite interesting on its own, but the mutation went on. In the next generation of control group B13, a strong spitting muscle developed inside their mandibles. The saliva of this creature is very toxic and thus dangerous. When it hits the ground, it creates a pool of acid. It's very possible that our substance will continue to mutate in the species in unexpected ways. The Fire Roach. The Fire Roach spits out blazing balls, leaving a trail of fire in their trajectory. The fireballs deal medium elemental damage on impact and burn the victim, causing more elemental damage over time. Again, constant movement is key to surviving the infernal these roaches can inflict within seconds. Resistant to fire. Lore. Record: the Supreme Bureau Department of Biological Sciences Archives. Subject: Roachling. Codename: Fire Roach. Report sent by Arx Vaporum Substance Field Assistant Jane Shane. The aim of the experiment, with the control group X32, was to prevent the mutation of the so-called acid roaches, B13. This specific control group was fed by a modified mixture of fruit and plants from the islands, and partially by new phylums of plants from our hydroponic garden. According to our last hypothesis, the mixture should prevent the mutation of the next generations of roaches and to neutralize their acid-forming glands. Addendum to the experiment results. The next generation of roaches from the X32 control group has undergone several fundamental changes. Firstly, we are still surprised by the speed of all the changes. Practically every new generation of roaches is a bit different, with more aggressive and sophisticated biology. The coloration of the roach has changed, as well as the coloration of fumium crystals located on its body. We need further research to determine whether this change is related to other characteristic features of the subject. The spitting muscle in the middle of the jaw has become significantly stronger. The premaxillary glands produce a biologically adhesive substance that ignites itself upon contact with the air. That enables this subspecies of roach to spit small fiery projectiles over long distances. The substance produced by X32 also rapidly ignites everything in its trajectory. We recommend further research. Some of our scientists see great potential in this substance, especially in the military. And the Super Roach. This thing looks terrifying. We've only seen one of these so far with how far I've gotten in the game. I'm fully expecting to encounter more invincible roaches. The Super Roach behaves much like the Fire Roach, but there's one little caveat. It's resistant to all weapon and gadget damage. In short, it can't be killed. The only way to survive the beast is to outwit it, outrun it, or lock it up somewhere in a place it can never escape from. Resistant to all kinds of damage. Lore: the Supreme Bureau Department of Biological Sciences Archives. Roachling, codename Super Roach. Report sent by Arx Vaporum Substance Field Assistant Jane Shane. How this species has came to be is still a mystery. However, we can say with certainty that it is a highly aggressive and virtually invincible type of roach. We assume unknown elements present in the teleportation process have played a vital role. The control group X-33 was fed a food mixture based on the new fruit phyllum element AVD12SB for a period of 5 days. We aim to moderate or reverse the effects of the former mutation into so-called acid roaches, B13. However, the control group was taken from us before the whole process could be finished, transferred to test new teleportation routes. The samples that survived the process were returned to us exhibited significant biological changes. The armor of this kind is stronger and more durable than the armor of any other roach in our control groups. So far, we have not been able to find a way to damage it by conventional means. The armor has a significant black coloration with red crystalline structure on its surface. Similarly, as in its predecessor, the fire roach, the premoximally glands of this subspecies produce a biologically adhesive substance that ignites upon contact with the air. The super roach can spit small fiery projectiles over long distances. And the great roach. The great roach uses its mandibles at melee range for a quick double attack. Similar to the Crier, the first part of the attack only deals medium physical damage, but the second delivers a lot more. When under attack, the big roach cowers down into a defensive shell, rapidly regenerating its health. While in this stance, attacking the roach from the front and sides will only hurt you back. However, the backside is completely unprotected, so try to maneuver behind the beast and attack its weak point. Lore. According to the notes of Leroy Brown, who created all the food variants, a small percentage of roaches can grow to the size of a bull. In Control Group M14, it was no more than 1% of the populace, and it was very much the same in Control Group T04. In M03, it was as much as 2%. Results in other control groups are far less significant. We still don't know why this happens in such small percentages of the population. Perhaps it's the natural limit of the biology of these subjects, or it has to do with the fumium interacting with very specific nutrients. Well, of that we are sure, we just don't understand the specifics yet. To discover all the intricacies, we will need more statistical data and more research blocks. This kind of newly mutated roach is slower and less agile, but it has developed a thick chitinous layer, protecting the front and the sides of its body. The layer is coated with a structure similar to something that resembles barbed wire, and as you would expect, any contact with biological tissue causes heavy bruises and wounds. These giants seem to somehow regenerate rapidly when under stress or assault. Despite the brick-solid armor in the front and on the sides, and the strong health regeneration abilities, the Great Roach is virtually unprotected from the back. Alright everyone, I think that'll do for this time. In the next episode, I guess we'll finish it up. We'll read about the Guardians, the various mages we'll encounter, the other golems, and any turrets we have yet to unlock. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching, and take care everyone. Hope this was entertaining for you.